Hi, thanks for being with me today. Hope you're keeping well. Today, I thought we could have a conversation on 5 things that could wreck your Christian faith. We're going to be honest today. We need a bit of serious life reflection. It's hard enough being a Christian sometimes, isn't it? It's hard enough making decisions and trying to live for Christ without allowing external pressures to come on us that make it even harder. So yeah, I just thought I'd have a chat with you today about 5 things that may wreck your faith unless you work hard to avoid them. And these come from my own experience of having been a Christian now for, oh my goodness me, over 40 years, and things that I've experienced myself, but also things that I've experienced in over 32 years of pastoral ministry, supporting other believers in their faith as well. So yeah, that's where these 5 things come from. And the first is self-criticism. Now, there is a difference between criticism and critique. I always tell members of my congregations that in whatever church I serve, that there's a difference between criticism and critique. Critique is when we might objectively analyse a particular situation or issue and then reflect on its weaknesses, probably, in an effort to improve it or to build it up. So you might say to somebody might come to me and say, Steve, I've noticed that your sermons are really long, and I wonder whether or not it might be helpful if during the 10 o'clock service on a Sunday morning you shorten them to say 15 minutes because we've got a lot of children in the service, for example. Okay, so that would be critique. That would be objectively considering something and then coming up with an alternative solution in a positive mode of encouragement. Criticism, however, is just negative and seeks to knock somebody down. So that would be somebody coming up to me and saying, Steve, your sermons are really boring. Can't you try and preach something a bit more interesting? So that's the difference between critique and criticism. Now, when it comes to ourselves, our approach to faith, you know, very often we don't engage in critique so much as criticism. We very often criticize ourselves. I might say, Steve, you're really rubbish at prayer. Steve, you don't live out the values you proclaim. Steve, you don't make enough time for God in your life. Do you see? That's criticism, rather than helpful critique of myself that would then encourage me to work on those areas of my faith that need working on. And self-criticism will weaken your faith. If you're given to criticism, self-criticism, it will weaken your faith. You will constantly be knocking yourself down and criticizing yourself for being such a weak, rubbish, useless Christian. Do you see? And we need to recognize that self-criticism is actually not reflective of how God sees you, because God doesn't see you as a weak, useless, pathetic Christian who always gets it wrong. God sees you as a beautiful, amazing, gorgeous child, much beloved and perfect in his eyes. So self-criticism is actually Satan's lies. That's what it is. It is Satan's lies trying to persuade you to see yourself in a way that does not reflect how God sees you. And that will then lead you to comparing yourself to other people, which is always a disastrous thing to do, to think about other people whose faith appears to be stronger than yours. That will then lead ultimately to you being completely demotivated in the faith, think that you're making such a mess of it that you may be tempted then just to kind of give up the Christian faith altogether. One of my favourite verses from Scripture is from 1 John chapter 3 verse 1, where John writes this: "See what great love the Father has lavished upon upon us, that we might be called children of God. That's the reality of who you are. God has lavished his love upon you so that you can be called his child. So stop criticizing yourself, critique yourself if you need to, but stop criticizing yourself. Don't let Satan's lies get to you. So that's the first thing, self-criticism. The second thing that potentially could wreck your Christian faith are your attachments. Now, attachments can be material possessions, things that we hold on to that we couldn't possibly consider giving up. They might be a relationship that actually in reality you know is not a good one, but you are kind of clinging on to it. Our attachments can be our ambitions. They can be ideas we hold or beliefs we hold. Attachments really is anything that draws us away from God, anything that gets between us and God, almost like a sort of idol in our life. And you and I both know that we must only be driven and motivated by our relationship with God. We mustn't allow any attachments to get in the way of that. In Mark chapter 8, Jesus said, whether we have to die to self. If you want to save your life, you've got to lose it. And those who lose their life will save it. We've got to die to these attachments and follow only Jesus. Now, that's not saying that all attachments are necessarily bad. It's not saying that all money is bad or all possessions are bad or all relationships are bad or whatever. It's only when we allow them to come between us and God. It's only when we refuse to put our attachments under his sovereignty, so that, if God asked us to move on from a particular set of possessions or a particular set of relationships or whatever, we would be willing to do that because we placed it under God's sovereignty. Does that make sense? Beware of your attachments. Beware that they are not going to wreck your faith. The third thing I would say that has the potential of wrecking your faith is social media addiction. I'm thinking a lot about this at the moment. The latest research data suggests that those people who use social media on average are spending 2 hours and 24 minutes a day on social media, just scrolling through. 2 hours 24, it's a phenomenal amount of time each day. And there are 4 things that I think about social media. Now, I'm not against social media, of course. I use Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, so I'm not against it per se. But we just need to be careful that it doesn't have a negative impact on our faith. And there's 4 ways that I think that potentially that could happen. The first is time. If you're spending 2.5 hours a day scrolling through social media, I would want to say to you, isn't there a better way that you could be using your time by praying and doing Bible study? So time is the first thing. Secondly, negativity. I know that on some of my feeds, there's so much negativity. There's so many people saying stuff that darkens my soul and puts a shadow over my mind. If we are absorbing negativity through social media all day long or for hours each day, that's going to impact our relationship with God, right? The third thing is that, the amount of time that we spend on social media, I don't know how better to say this. It can take us away from the real world. Does that make sense? I know social media is the real world, but you know what I mean? Time when we could be going out for a walk, time when we could be looking at the sky and the flowers and smelling the aromas of the restaurants as we walk past them. And do you know what I mean? So, we can spend so much time just sitting on the sofa or a bench somewhere scrolling that we actually miss what's going on around us. And the fourth problem with social media that can wreck our faith is that it does lead us to compare ourselves against others. There are Christians I follow on Instagram who actually, rather than building me up, bring me down, because I look at them, I think their life is fantastic. Their faith is so strong. I wish I was as strong as them in faith. I wish my prayer life was as good as theirs. There are other Christian YouTubers that I follow who have far more subscribers than me and get far more views on their channels. And I think, oh my goodness, they're doing really well and I'm doing really badly. You see, comparison robs us of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy and can destroy our faith. So, social media, use it wisely, know when to switch it off, and don't fall into those traps that will wreck your faith. Paul says in Romans chapter 12 verse 2, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Is the way you use social media helping that mind renewal or not? Proverbs chapter 4:23 says, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Is the way you interact with social media guarding your heart? And 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 12, Paul says, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. So, nobody's going to tell you that you shouldn't be spending time on social media. It's lawful for you, but is it helpful? The fourth thing that can wreck your faith, unless you're very careful, is toxic friendships. I've talked about this before. The fact that actually we need to think very carefully who we allow into our lives. We're on a journey with God. We are trying to develop our spirituality. We're trying to grow closer and more intimate with Jesus as each day passes. But sometimes we have people in our lives, friends, who actually don't really support us in that, either through their behavior or through their attitudes, or maybe they just kind of tempt us into a way of living that we know isn't particularly helpful. Do you have friends who do that? Or do you just have friends who share your passion for Jesus, or even if they're not Christians, will actually just support you and encourage you in your own personal growth? Now, that's not to say that these friends who may not be helping you in that way are bad people. They're probably not bad people. They're probably really nice people. They're kind people. I'm sure they are. But you really need to be surrounding yourself with people who will, encourage you and support you in your life goals and your sense of purpose. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 11, Paul says, encourage one another and build one another up. That's the type of people you need to surround yourself with. People who will encourage you and build you up. In 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33, Paul says, bad company corrupts good character. It's a great little proverb, that, isn't it? Bad company corrupts good character. Make sure that you're not spending time with people who will corrupt your good character. And Proverbs 27 verse 9 simply says, the sweetness of a friend comes from their earnest counsel. Are you surrounding yourself with people who will give you good counsel? Now, it may be that there are people in your physical environment who you can rely on to support and encourage you in the locality where you live. If you find that difficult, please remember that I'm here for you and I will be an encourager for you. Please always feel free to get in touch with me through the comments, and I will seek to encourage you as best I can. So I'm here for you, even if there's no one locally who can be. And also, surround yourself with good counsel through the other YouTube channels you watch, through podcasts you listen to, through books you read. It doesn't always need to be somebody in your physical locality. There are other ways of surrounding yourself with good people. And the fifth thing that will wreck your faith if you don't get hold of it is this: not enough sleep. Sleep is so important. You know, I think it's the most underrated of spiritual disciplines. You've got to get good sleep. It's something I'm working at. I'm not very good with sleep. And on average, at the moment, I'm sleeping 5.5 hours a night. I would like to sleep 7 hours a night, but I'm on averaging about 5.5, which isn't quite enough for me. You know, sleep is something that is so important. If you can get 7, 8, 9 hours sleep a night, it will transform your spirituality. You know what it's like if you don't get good sleep. You know, you make bad decisions in life if you're tired. You don't have energy. You're not motivated to do things. We become emotionally unstable if we're not if we're exhausted. You know, we lack perspective on life. Sleep is at the heart of a balanced body, mind and spirit experience. You know, Jesus valued sleep. We know that. In Mark chapter 4, you know, he was sleeping in the back of the boat when the storm hit. He must have been exhausted to sleep through a storm, but he knew that sleep was really, really important. In 1 Kings chapter 19, when Elijah has been going through depression, God lets him sleep. God feeds him and then lets him sleep. God feeds him and then lets him sleep. Sleep is so important for our mental health. So on a practical level, getting enough sleep will protect and enhance your faith. It is a divine gift to us. And of course, God speaks to us through our dreams as well. So we don't want to miss out on our dream time, do we? In 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5, God spoke to Solomon through his dream. In Genesis chapter 46, verse 2, God spoke to Jacob, Joseph's father, through his dreams as well. So you don't want to miss out on your dream time because you might miss God speaking to you. So there we are. That's just 5 things that, you know, we need to keep on top of. Otherwise, we could weaken our faith or even wreck our faith. There's other things as well, I'm sure. What's your experience? Pop them in the comments below. What do you think has the potential to weaken or wreck our faith if we aren't mindful and vigilant about it? I'd be really interested to hear your ideas on this. There we are. Well, I hope that's been helpful for you. Thank you for spending time with me again today. I always really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to being with you again really soon. Take care. Bye.